Hello everyone. In this demonstration, you will learn how to add reflection in sunglasses to a picture on Photoshop. To begin with, we have to import our first photo. To do this, go on the top left toolbar, click File, then scroll down to Open. Once doing so, choose the picture from your files and it should load onto the screen like so. Next, repeat the first process to load up the photo you'd like in the reflection of the sunglasses. Make sure you have the Move tool selected and then press and hold Shift while dragging your second photo over the original one. Once doing so, you can go ahead and close the second window. To check to see if you've done this correct, you can click the little eye icon on the bottom to hide your layer from the background, revealing your original image. If your second photo is large, it's easier to scale it down before moving on to the next step. On the right hand side, you'll notice a tab that says Pixel Layer Properties. Change the width to a smaller number, clicking the chain link and hit enter. Once doing so, you'll notice the photo changes to a smaller size. If the photo still seems quite large, repeat this process again for a second time, just so the photo just covers over the face of the subject. Once doing so, we can move on to the next step. To make this next step easier, we're going to turn down the opacity of this reduced image. Once turning down the opacity, you'll notice it's easier to see the original image. Next, position the smaller image so the intended object is inside the lens of the sunglasses. For mine, I ensured the mountain was visible with a little sky. For our next step, you're going to need to grab the rectangle tool from the left toolbar and make a selection around the glasses. Once doing so, you can hit the delete button on your keyboard, which should delete everything in the second picture besides your selection. For the next step, it helps to zoom in a bit to enlarge the area of the sunglasses. Now we have to make a duplicate image for the other lens. To do so, click on the image and then click Command J on the keyboard and it should make a duplicate copy. Once you have the second image, you will want to drag that copy over the second lens and position it so it's not quite in the exact same spot as the first image. This will give it a more realistic effect. Again, you can check to see if this is done right by clicking on the eye icon on the right hand corner of the screen, allowing you to hide certain layers. Next, we're going to bring the opacity back up full on both images. So one at a time, click on the image and bring the opacity up full. Moving forward, it will be easier to deal with these images as one layer. So to do so, hold Shift, select both layers on the right hand side, then hit Command E, which will merge the layers together. Moving on, you're going to want to make the layer image of the reflection invisible, then zoom in and center the sunglasses on your screen. Next, select the lasso tool from the toolbar on the left hand side and use it to trace the first lens. Once completed, hold the Shift key on the keyboard and trace the second lens. For future reference, sometimes the magic wand tool can pick up the edges you're trying to trace and automatically select them. However, in my project, I had to use the lasso tool to hand trace them. Once completed, turn the visibility of the second layer back on by clicking the eye icon again. Now that the intended selection of the images are inside the lens portion of the glasses, go ahead and click delete on the keyboard. If done correctly, only the lens portion of the second image should remain. Now that we're almost done, let's edit the image inside the lens so it looks more like a reflection rather than a pasted on image. To begin with, click on the Adjustment Layer button on the bottom right, then select Levels from the menu. Before we adjust the levels, we have to clip the layers so it only affects the image inside the lens. To do so, we use the keyboard shortcut Option Command G. We know we've done it right by the little arrow pointing down. Next up, we will start editing the levels inside the image. Start by bringing the darks up on the slider on the right hand side. After that, we will raise the output as well. You can use my numbers as a guideline, but the goal is to get the image to look as seamless as possible in the lens. For our next step, we're going to try to blend the images together by trying to match the original lens color with the hue of the image. To do this, we're going to create another adjustment layer. However, this time, select Hue/Saturation rather than Levels. Again, use the keyboard shortcut Option Command G to clip the layers. From here, click the Colorize button on the drop-down menu, and now you can start flipping back and forth from the original picture, trying to match the hue. This will give it a more natural look. For this step, there's no magic formula or numbers to type in. It's literally just trial and error. Just keep trying and messing around with different settings in the color and in the hue, and you'll eventually get a finished product which looks good for your picture. Lastly, we're going to add a layer mask and gradient to the picture inside the lens in order to make the image appear as if it's fading away. To start, click on the rectangular selection tool on the left toolbar and make your first selection over the first lens. Once completed, hold the Shift key and make the second selection over the other lens. After this, go back to the toolbar on the left and select the gradient tool. From here, you want to go to the top and click on the gradient editor, and finally, select the foreground to transparent preset and click OK. To use the gradient tool, click and hold on one side of the rectangle and then let the cursor go inside the lens. Adding the gradient makes a big difference from making the reflection look real versus a pasted on image. However, it is possible to darken the lens too much. It's not a big deal if you do this, just hit the undo button and try again. Once the gradient's done, deselect the rectangles and zoom out, and there you have it, a finished piece. You can look at the steps in your progress by making certain layers invisible. Hopefully this demonstration has helped you add reflection in your own sunglasses. However, you can now apply these same skills to add a reflection to any type of glass or shiny surface in order to exaggerate a certain place or make any old image seem more interesting. Thanks for taking the time to watch the video, and I hope I inspired you to create your own compositions on Photoshop.